Hello and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Justin. I make weekly videos where I go through some aspect of my budget, whether that's allocating funds that I have available or just doing a review of my spending. This video is going to be a Q2 review. So I don't normally do quarterly reviews. I tend to be, certainly the last couple of years, really rooted in my spending habits and understanding where my money is going and where my money is coming from. I started doing quarterly reviews this year only because I also started doing goals, like financial goals that I wanted to accomplish within the year. I will link my goals video in the cards. At the end of the video, I will also, I think, probably link it. And I might also link my Q1 video as well. So if you feel so inclined to go and watch or rewatch my Q1 to kind of see my progress in the last 3 months relative to the first 3 months of the year, by all means, go ahead. Q2 was a higher spend month, or not month, but couple months relative to Q1. I also brought in a little bit more income in Q2 relative to Q1, so that also plays into the higher spend. What I like to get from doing a quarterly review is not just telling you how much I've spent and where my money came from, but also, is my budget aligned with my priorities? Are my goals being reached? Am I making incremental strides towards reaching my goals that I've set for this year? And the best way to see that is to show where my spending is and then kind of bring it all together and analyze my goals relative to my spending. So in the end of the video, or towards the end of the video, I will go through my individual goals, where I think I am, where I think I'm going, and whether or not I think I've done a good job at moving those needles. But before we get there, we do need to go through my expenses and income for this second quarter. So this second quarter is going to cover April through June. As you can see, my total spend was $14,415.61. This is up by, I believe, $2,500 to $3,000 relative or compared to Q1. Like I said in my beginning statement, the income that I've brought in has increased, and so I've been able to bring more money in, therefore being able to put more money out. The groups that I have are not going to be identical to the groups that I had in Q1. A couple weeks ago, I completely overhauled my YNAB setup to include consolidating accounts and reorganizing my groups and categories. But I think overall my groups still hold the same purpose that they held in Q1. So the majority of my spending is on my bills. I think this is a lot of us out there spend the majority of our money on bills. Certainly the spending on bills is increasing over time. And so the struggle of balancing that with my priorities has been tough, but I think I'm on track with where I need to be and where I planned on being. My bills essentially are my four walls. These are the things that I need to keep living the life. Well, it's probably not the best way to put it. To essentially not be homeless, right? So rent is a large portion of this group spending. I take pride in where I live. I do spend more than I probably should and could be spending on housing. However, there are very few apartment complexes that give you a private, essentially fenced in backyard. And that was a priority for me moving into this apartment with my dog. I also live on the outskirts of the Metro Phoenix area in a developing area. Now, it's become more developed over the years. However, it is still not as developed as I think they have plans for. So traffic has increased, but it is not as bad as some of the other areas in the Metro Phoenix area. My groceries are pretty on par. I budget 150 to 200. I don't normally spend more than 200. If I do, that money usually comes from somewhere else within my budget. My car insurance, my internet, my cell phone storage, those are all fairly fixed bills. So again, those are standard. Those don't really fluctuate too much outside of car insurance every 6 months. Those always seem to go up a lot. My gas, or actually my power, that is probably my most variable bill that I have. The summer months are some of the higher months. Quarter two is kind of creeping up into the summer months. And so you'll start to notice that my power bills are going to be increasing. And then obviously my gas is my lowest. I do work from home 4 days a week. I think I spent $85 in quarter one on gas, and I've kind of reduced that by half. So very interesting. But those are my bills. In total, that was $7,657. My biggest expense that, well, not my biggest expense, but the expense that changed the most in quarter two compared to quarter one has been my car payments. My number one priority, my number one goal for this year is to pay off my car as quickly as possible. My goal was to get it paid off by the end of the year with a sort of sub goal of getting it paid off by August. Over the last couple of videos, I have been on track and am still on track with making that final car payment on August 1st. So I'm really excited about making that payment next week. I will document that. I don't know yet in what video capacity that will be, whether that will be in my next week Friday video or if I will do a separate video. I try to record my videos where I get paid and allocate funding a day or two early. So by that schedule, I will have already filmed and edited and scheduled my Friday video. But what I might do is record that video, get it all ready, and then Friday morning, I will record a section of video of me paying that car loan off. And then I might splice those two together. So we'll see how that all works out. But anticipate, if not next Friday, definitely at some point in the next week and a half to 2 weeks, I will be making a video on that. But in quarter two, I doubled the amount of money that I sent to my car bill in preparation of getting my car paid off this summer. So in quarter one, I sent $2,500 to my car loan. 2,000 of that was extra principal payments. The other 500 was just regular car payments that I was obligated to make anyways. As you can see, like I said, doubled it to $5,225.30. This includes about $4,500 in extra principal payments and $740 roughly in regular obligated car payments. So I, again, am really on track with getting that number one priority satisfied, accomplished. Come August 1st, I will be able to check that off and I can move on. This group is all of my non-regular routine bills. So these are things like dining out, technology, subscriptions, basically anything discretionary, not within my four walls. This is also the group that if I needed to would be the first to get rampaged in terms of eliminating bills. So these are the items that bring joy to my life, but if I needed to, I could part ways with them. So in quarter one, I didn't distinguish my discretionary spending from anything else, like dining out, things like that. I did have categories for them, but I sent the same amount of money to discretionary and then used it for everything within that category group. Starting in quarter two, I actually broke out dining out from discretionary, which allowed me to separate the money that I sent each paycheck for those purposes. So in quarter two, I have allocated more money towards dining out. I have probably also spent more money in dining out. But it brings joy to me to be able to go on a whim to a restaurant and spend money. In fact, not in this quarter. We'll see it in quarter three. Earlier this month, earlier in July, I fulfilled not really a dream, because it's kind of weird to say I've been dreaming of eating at a certain restaurant for a while, but I've lived in Arizona a total of like 10 or 11 years of my life. And I would say probably about 4 to 5 of those years, I have followed on social media a seafood restaurant that is out here in Phoenix. They source their seafood from San Diego. They source their food from the coast of Mexico. They source their food from the Northeast. So basically all over the United States, they source their seafood weekly, and in some cases multiple times a week. So it was something that I, for a very long time, like I said, for 4 or 5 years, I have always wanted to eat at this restaurant. I love seafood. There's obviously no oceans in Arizona, but it has, because of the cost of shipping things in, is a very cost prohibitive restaurant. Was for me and is probably for a lot of people. Because of the shifts that I've made in my finances, I was able to go to this restaurant a couple weeks ago, and I spent almost $100 on seafood. One meal, one lunch, almost $100. And in months and years past, I would have never been able to do that. I would have never even thought to do that, right? $100 on food for one meal, a lot of people would be like, well, you could have sent that to your car payment. Yeah, I could have, but you know what? I'm doing fine on my car payment. I have really wanted that restaurant for a very long time. And to say that I was able to spend $100 on food at a place that I've been longing to eat at is something that makes me proud. YNAB has allowed me to be able to make decisions like that and not feel guilty. So if you're watching this, it doesn't have to be YNAB. Whatever budget system you use, allow it to bring your priorities to the forefront. It has for me, and it's changed my life. Um, the other things in here are, a lot of the technology stuff that I've purchased for my new setup. And then obviously all of my streaming services are there as well, which I don't have any intent on getting rid of anytime soon. So this group is basically my routine bills, and I think I might have misspoke earlier in this video. I'll have to find out when I'm editing this, but this is the group that I set money aside for annual, semi-annual subscriptions. One of my goals was not to have any routine, well, I guess non-routine bill creep up and cause problems in my finances. And so in order to accomplish that, I created a category group specific to setting money aside every month for those larger non-routine bills that come up every year, every couple years, or multiple times in the year. I also moved, so most of the spending is going to be from this household consumables. This is a new group addition for me. Normally, I would just take money from my groceries if I needed toilet paper, shampoo, deodorant, things like that, which meant I was spending less on food, which is something you really need in order to get the necessities in that category. So I decided in Q2 that I was going to create a separate category, allocate money separately from my grocery budget, and it has served me well. I've been able to purchase things that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to. A vacuum, mainly a vacuum. That's, I think, where most of the spending is. But other things in this category, Microsoft 365, and also my passport. So all of these things are items that I set money aside each month, each paycheck, so that they don't come up in the future and surprise me. And then my last group is my dog spending. So the majority of my spending on him is going to be dog food. I also got shots for him in May, I believe. So this is something that I don't normally do every year. I really only do his shots anytime I'm preparing for a trip where I'm going to have to board him. And in order to board him, he needs to be up on his shots. And so, although I can forecast most of my spending on trips, there could be times where an emergency happens where I need to board him, and it would cause a lot of issues if he's not up on his shots. And so that is going to be something that I routinely set money aside for and get every year. That way he is always on, that way he always has his shots up to date and I don't have to worry about whether or not I can board him. So yeah, I mean, overall, my spending, like I've alluded to, is progressing me in my goals. And so now let's go ahead and move to my income. My income has increased just a little bit. In quarter one, my income was $13,774. In quarter two, my my income was $14,620.86. So a little bit higher. I've also got a couple of new income streams on here from compared to quarter one, the largest being my GI Bill, my education benefits that I get every month. I have not done plasma donation a lot this quarter. Mainly, it started out taking just a typical routine break from donating, and then it's just kind of progressed into a thing that I haven't done very often because of work and because of school. And so normally I'm in the several $100s, whereas in quarter two, I've only brought about $200 in. My regular paychecks is the largest source of income for me at $11,526. So this quarter, I have used less rollover savings month to month to spend on all the things that we went over. Whereas in quarter one, I had a decent amount of savings that caused my spending to outperform my income. Whereas this second quarter, I've done a pretty good job at balancing that. So overall, I think I'm happy with where I'm at in terms of my spending and my income. I do hope in the next 6 to 12 months that my income grows exponentially. I work in government. Government is not known for paying their employees a high wage. Out in the private sector, I could be making, 6 figures easy doing the job that I do, doing the work that I do, having the skills that I have. Um, so part of the reason I chose to go back to school was to improve my stock on paper, the skills that I have in hopefully getting a private sector job that pays me what my skills are worth. So I'm hoping next year, and this probably is going to be a goal of mine next year, unless I somehow find myself in the private sector before the end of the year. But one of the goals next year, I think, is probably going to be increasing my income by finding a job that pays a lot more. By opening up my income, I will also be able to prioritize things that I haven't been able to prioritize: savings, investments, the future. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. So, now I want to go over my goals individually. I have 5 of them, and I will just give my assessment on how I've done in this quarter in terms of accomplishing those goals and whether or not I need to make or should make any changes to those moving forward. So For the last several videos of mine, I have made mention that my first priority is paying off my car loan. Again, that started out as a pay off the car loan this year at some point before December ends. It has quickly changed to a summer goal of mine. And like I said in this video earlier, August 1st, I plan on making my final payment and being done with that goal. So in terms of accomplishing that goal, as you just saw, I've doubled the amount of money I've sent towards that goal in this quarter compared to last quarter. And quarter 3, I will be done with it. So I'm super excited. That's going to free up $250 a month that I've been sending in regular car payments and several $100s in money that I have been sending in or setting aside as extra principal payments each month. So I'm super excited about being done with that and shifting that money towards other things. My second goal is to amass an emergency fund of $2,500. In preparation for this video, I rewatched my quarter 1 video. I also rewatched my goal setting video, and I made mention in my quarterly video for quarter 1 that $2,500 is just not enough for an emergency fund, considering that doesn't even cover a full month's expenses for me, like a normal month expense. I mentioned possibly increasing that to $3,000 or $3,500. I think even $3,000 or $3,500 is not enough. That will barely cover 1 month of expenses. And if a catastrophic event happened, 1 month of breathing room, I just don't think is enough. So I also made a reference to possibly increasing that to a 3-month emergency fund. I think that is where I'm going to be going with this. I have projected out. If you know me, I do a lot of forecasting. I do a lot of projecting. I don't like to be surprised by anything. If I can account for the things that might happen, if I can plan for everything, every possible scenario, it brings comfort to me when that happens. Like when that decision needs to be made, I'm able to make it knowing that I have put everything I could into the planning process. And so in looking at my finances and projecting things out, I think at the very least, I will be able to amass a 3-month emergency fund, $9,000 by the end of December. So moving forward, that will be my goal. I will be changing that goal from $2,500 to a 3-month or $9,000 emergency fund. And I think I will be able to accomplish that. My third goal is don't carry a credit card balance. This is going to be a reoccurring goal until I am happy and satisfied that I don't have to think about it. But don't carry a credit card balance is a goal that I visualize using the toolkit. One of the only toolkit visualizations that I use is this one. It's the balance over time. I group all of my credit cards. I have 3 credit cards. So I group the balances that I have together to see how long am I carrying balances. And as you can see, maybe a couple days I'll have a balance and then I'll quickly pay it off. Down here, this is when I use my credit card to pay rent so that I could get the bonus from my credit card. But all of my other spending has been pretty nominal. I use my credit card for everyday spending so that I can get the rewards. I have typically sent credit card payments a couple times a month as groupings of expenses clear. I think moving forward, I'm going to shift the way I make payments. I think I'm going to make a payment a few days before my statement date to get my utilization below 10%. And then once my statement comes out, I will probably automate a statement balance payment. That way I'm only doing 2 payments a month, and one of those is going to be automated. But in quarter 2, I have satisfied this goal. I have not carried a balance more than a couple days, which means I am avoiding fees, interest, which can really wreak havoc on finances. My 4th goal is no surprise routine bills. So I mentioned this before, that I have a group dedicated to avoiding the surprise of bills that I know happen all the time. And I have been setting money aside every month to create a savings that will allow me to pay that bill when it comes due without having to wonder where that money is coming from. So in terms of this goal, it's an ongoing goal. I have not had any issues paying a bill that has come up, and I don't foresee any issues paying any bills in the remainder of the year because of this goal and because of this group. My last goal, my 5th goal, is setting aside $100 a month towards a discretionary account to use in any capacity that I feel necessary. Again, I have accomplished this goal. I am setting aside $50 every paycheck towards this goal. I have also separated this money from dining out. And so I have also added to this an additional $50 a month just towards dining out. Doesn't mean I can't use that dining out money for other things if I need to, if I want to. But sending $50 a month to discretionary and $50 a month, or I'm sorry, $50 a paycheck to discretionary and $50 a paycheck to dining out means I'm sending $100 a month to discretionary spending, $100 a paycheck to discretionary. I get paid twice a month on most months, and some months I get 3, which means I am definitely spending or sending more than $100 every month to discretionary spending. So I'm exceeding that goal. After reviewing my expenses, my income, and my goals, I feel that I am right on track on most of them and exceeding the ones that I am not just on track on. I can't wait to see what quarter 3 has in store. Like I said, at the start of August, I plan on making my final car payment, and then I can start re-shifting the money that used to go towards that, towards my other priorities. Quarter 3, I think, is going to be a big quarter for savings as I shift my priority from debt to emergency fund. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited that I'm making the progress that I hoped to have made this year. And I really can't wait to see where I am at the end of quarter 3 and definitely at the end of quarter 4 as I go into 2026. So thank you for sticking through this. I know this was a long video. These quarterly reviews tend to be a little bit longer than my normal videos, but I will see you next Friday as I allocate my 9 to 5 paycheck and potentially talk about paying off my car loan. But if not, I'll have a video dedicated just to that. See you soon.